Welcome to the tutorial on how to composite a person into my reindeer background. I'm Sam from Sam's Dream Themes, and I took this background on the first snowfall of November a couple of years ago, just down the street from where I live. It's my very favorite, and it's definitely my most popular background that I have made to date. And to add people to this is so easy. So the first thing I'm going to do is I actually have a person already cut out. So if I go to desktop, here she is. This is Evie, and I took this picture of her on my driveway in November, so it was a little bit chilly. I got down onto her level to take the picture. It was a nice cloudy day, or else I would have taken it in the shade. And she was being very cute because I had some blinking antlers that her mom was shaking around on her head on the same level as I wanted to put the reindeer. And so it looked like she was interacting with her mom and with what would be the reindeer. So I'm going to go back over here. If you need a tutorial on how to cut people out, please go back to my YouTube page because I do have that. And to save time here, I'm going to just leave that part alone. So I'm going to go to File, Place Linked, and I've already got her here, and she's ready to go. And you can see that she's a little bit big, and so I'm going to do Command T on a Mac, Control T on a PC, and then I'm going to right click, and I'm going to flip horizontal, and I'm going to size her down until I've got her so that she will be able to interact with the reindeer. So I'm actually going to move her hand down a little bit. And sometimes it takes me a minute to place them until I get it just right. Because I think, no, I want her a little bit smaller. She was tiny. She was only 2 at the time. Reindeers are actually not nearly as big as you would think they are. But, okay, there we go. That's a little bit better. I want her eyes to be looking into his eyes. I'm really into that interaction between the subjects when I can be. So that's where I'm going to be putting her. And I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to put a layer mask on her. So white box, black center, add a layer mask. And this allows me to erase at her without completely, without destroying the original image. So I'm just going to go in and erase this stuff off of her. And that's with a black brush, or I should have said a black brush at 100% opacity and nice and soft. I'm going to switch to a white brush now. White adds back on. And now I'm just going to go through. And I want that to be soft because the reindeer has soft fur. So there we go. I could go in a little bit, make that brush a little bit harder if I wanted. I don't want to make it too hard. Okay, so now I've got my subject, and she looks like she's more online with the reindeer here and that she's interacting with him. So I'm going to right click here, actually on this gray part here, and I'm going to rasterize the layer, and then I'll right click here and apply the layer mask. So now she's ready, she's good. Actually, I do need to fix her feet. There would have been a good idea. I'm going to put that layer mask back on, And I'm going to go to a black brush that's nice and soft, 100% opacity, and I'm going to do just little bumps for the snow here. I don't want it to look really blurry. And I like bumps because snow does not, especially this snow, it's not flat. It is bumpy and crunchy in this one. So that's how I blend in her feet. And they look pretty natural. So I will apply the layer mask. And then I'm going to go to my curves because she's a little bit dark for this scene. I'm going to lock it down so it only affects her by clicking this right here. I'm going to drag this up because she should be one of the brightest parts of the picture. And I'm positive I like this. I'm totally happy with this. I know that I've got the colors the way I want them, the shadows, everything. So now I personally like to flatten when I know I like it, but you might want to go to File, Save As, and save it as a PSD, like a Photoshop file first, so that you know you can always go back if you need to. So layer, flatten. And how you end up doing the skin and your color balancing and everything is totally up to you. Her skin looks pretty good here, but I do want to boost it a little bit. There are lots of people's actions on the internet that you can use. You might have developed your own style of doing things. I personally have made my own actions over the years. And so this is I do sell these. This is from the Joya collection that I made. And these are skin tones that you can paint on. So if the skin tone isn't perfect here, this will help it a lot. So one thing I'm going to do first is I'm going to reduce the red first. I'm going to delete those. And I'm going to do red reduction. I'm going to run it. And this will, if I go in with it, I'm going to do it at about 50% opacity. If I go in with a white brush, soft white brush, 49%, it will just take down some of those extra red areas. I usually like doing it around the eyes, noses in winter. If you're taking outside pictures, they can really get red. So that brought down the red. I'm going to flatten that. If you find your colors are too blue or too yellow, or you want an overall reduction, these actions all color correct as well. Now I'm going to go to my smooth skin with texture, actually. I like to smooth it out first. So I'm going to run that. This allows the texture to still show through. So on this black box that says soften here, 50% is fine. And that's just going to smooth out the skin a little bit. I don't put it anywhere that should be sharp, only the major parts of the skin. And flatten. Finally, sugar glue skin tones. I was really frustrated that I edit people of all ethnicities, and I was frustrated on the internet that I couldn't find any skin tones that covered people who weren't necessarily white. This girl is. But I wanted that option, and so like some of these are dark brown, olive skin tones, lots of like medium skin tones. For this one, I'm going to do Pinky Peach, 50%, soft brush, white brush, and I'm just going to go over her skin, and this evens it out without making her necessarily a lot lighter. And yeah, it'll just even it out and it'll give you the proper color balance. Then for any skin tone, I like to do warm glow. And I'm just going over the brightest areas of her face. So anywhere where the light is hitting, I just want to make it a little bit brighter. And then I could go in with something like honey beige to do my darker browns. I'll usually bring the opacity down. And just any of the darker areas, the shadows, I'll make a little bit darker. So the lights get a little lighter, the darks get a little darker, and this gives your photo depth. So it keeps your photo from looking flat, and it gives it more of a painterly artistic feel. And I'm zooming out. So before, after, and I'm going to flatten that. She doesn't need it here because her eyes are really small, but you can get it here. I have an eye palette to brighten and sharpen the eyes, pearly white teeth. Again, I don't really, well, I could run it just anyway. She doesn't really need her teeth whitened. She's a little girl. But if I wanted to, this takes away the yellow, the whiten. So I'd put that up to 100%. And then the brighten, you can see at 100% is definitely going to be too bright, but I'll just show you what it looks like. Well, maybe not. But I could turn this on and off. And then if it was too white, I could just bring down the opacity right here. And then layer, flatten. Oh, I see an area that I missed with the hat. I'm just using my spot healing brush in order to fix that up. There we go. Okay, so there she is. You could also use, with the Sugar Glow Skin Tones, it does have a blush at the bottom. And 100% might be too much, but let's see. Oh yeah. I'll put that at about 70%. You just want little people to have a little blush so they don't look like clowns. I could do that on her lips too, and then flatten. And that's the major stuff for her done, actually. She blends in really nicely. There is a bit of an antique look to this picture that I created by changing out the greens and stuff. And changing them into browns and greens. So if you would like that look for yours, right now I've got it in the Joya collection, as I said, and then I will put this particular one in the winter collection as soon as I'm finished that. So creme brulee, I'm going to run it. And this is going to make the whole thing look more antique-y. The problem is it's overdone on the rest of the picture. I only want it to affect the girl. So with it turned on, I'm going to double click on this white box and I'm going to invert. And now I can paint it just on her with a soft white brush. Right now it's at 70%. I already know this is going to be too much, but it's fine. So I've got it all in her, but she's a little bit too yellow for me. I'm not keen on that yet. So I'm just going to take this opacity and bring it down until I'm happy. And sometimes I'll bring it right down to the bottom. And I'll just slowly add it until she matches the same color tones as the deer, the reindeer. And flatten. If you want, you can do dodge and burn as well. There are many ways of doing it. You can look them up if you don't already do it. I have it included in my actions. So I'm going to run, and I'm going to open this. This is paint on with white, 5% flow, 100% opacity. So the opacity will be 100%. The flow goes down to 5. And this is what I paint on the lightest areas of her or anyone. And this again is giving you that depth that you don't have otherwise. Photography flattens out what you see in real life. That's why I won't let my students, I don't like my students working from photos if they can use a sculpture, but anyway. And actually, I'm going to brighten this guy up a little bit more. Just to match her a little bit more on the brightness. And then I'm going to go in and click on this square, and it says paint black, 5% flow, 100% opacity, keep it nice and soft. And I'm going to go in now and paint the darkest parts. And anytime you have strong highlights, middle tones, and darks, a nice range, you will get something that looks really nice in 3D, attractive, it pops. So there's before and after, and it gives it kind of more of a painterly look as well, which is really popular right now. And there I've got my picture, and I would do save as, and I would save it as a JPEG, and it's ready to go. If you want to add snow, I do have a lot of different snows available for you to purchase and add on, and I can show those to you. File, place linked. So I show you what all of these look like. My personal favorite is Cuddle Up because it just has the right balance for me. It doesn't have a lot. I'm going to do this again. File, place linked. And I'm going to go to Cuddle Up. And if you're not familiar with overlays, I'm going to hit enter. Overlays make everything black. But if you change the blending mode right here from normal to screen, there it is. And I'm going to put a layer mask on it right here. And then I'm going to use a black brush at 100% opacity, 100% flow. And I'm just going to erase it off of her face and around the eye of this guy. And then it's a personal preference. Some people don't like the snow and some people do. So that's why I'm leaving it off. I personally like the snow. And then layer. I know I love this, flatten, and I'm all done. So thank you for following this. And if you check out my channel, you will see that I will be adding more videos soon. And you can also go to my Etsy site, Sam's Dream Themes, all one word. And you can find lots of different backgrounds that I've been working on there too. Thank you.